Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, Vandy is opening our card by Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, and start me. This time we are covering set 13 for Zorga Masques. So as we all know, Zorga Masques got some pretty interesting cards for him. We got some mill cards, we got some cards that really amp up you Wandering Souls, and we got some nice calling cards as well. So let's go get this deck started, shall we? And see what we got, because this deck feels a lot more like Zorga back when Roaming Prism came out, aka, in my opinion, the peak of Zorga, where you could just bullshit your way through games. Let's go and get this started, shall we? First up today, we have our starter in Dream Nibbling, Gredzilla Boost, Fat Kiss, Shields K Power, Auto Reply if you win second, draw cards, and it's just a free draw if you win second. There's not much more I can say about this, like none of the ride line really requires this, but it fits the theme, and if you manage to pull off the Mega Legion art that for some reason Bushy stopped doing, very disappointed in that, then he'll be necessary for that. So one of Dream Nibbling in the right deck, none of the main deck, because obviously there's no worth in that. Then we have our triggers, first we're on Over Trigger and Source Dragon DD of Blessings Bless Favor, Gredzilla Boost 50k Shield, 5k base. Okay, you may only have one Over Trigger in your deck. Over Trigger, we're going to reveal it as a trigger with a guard, draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets +1 for the turn, and if you reveal it during your check, activate its Suggestion Flash, which you get to draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets +1 crit for the turn, or from it gets +10, and then if you're damaged on the same number of cards of your opponents or more, choose a card from your damage zone to heal it. Important things to note about the skill. First up, it doesn't say till end of turn on this effect. Now, I'm pretty sure it means end of turn. If it does, if it doesn't, someone prove me wrong, but I'm like not 100% sure that it means end of turn. That just shows how to put it. But anyways, being able to basically sack this whether defensively or offensively and get the draw on a million is great. But then if you sack it offensively, you get a total of 2 draws. Someone gets a million. The front row gets +10. Either the Vanguard or the thing you gave the million to is getting an extra crit, and then you possibly get to heal on top of this. All around, Bless Favor is one of my favorite overs. I think I've made that very clear because it is basically a fucking everything bagel. You get everything at once, and I love it. And this Zorga deck has consistently pulled it off every single game when I'm using it and when my opponent is using it, and I hate it. But one of Bless Favor. It's nice to see, and it's pretty much not instant in the second you slap it down, but it's dick move incarnate when you see it. So one of Bless Favor. Then we have our normal triggers. We're on 3 copies of our draw trigger and Serene Maiden Lena. Gredzilla Boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continuous guard circle. If your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 guard, she goes 5k shield. So cool, 10k shield, which is nice to have, and she's a draw trigger, so it might increase the hand. And you know, with this deck wanting to kind of call down early, possibly being able to increase the hand is nice. But also, like in the late game where you're probably throwing down a bunch of orders or have a bunch of orders in hand, it kind of helps mitigate that by hopefully drawing into non-grade 3 units or things that have shield value. One of the two. Either way, 3 of Elena, she's just nice to have. Then we have 4 copies, or technically 8 crits in total. 4 of them being Abyss Temptation. Gredzilla Boost 50k shield, 5k power. It's nice to have it as a crit. And again, you don't really need this as a crit because we run the effect crit, so this crit can be whatever you want, but it's for the Mega Legionnaire, obviously. And then we have 4 copies of Aspire Maiden Alana. Gredzilla Boost 15k shield, 4k power. Critical trigger auto react them out of boosted. Put this unit to soul. Choose one of your units. It comes to 2k of the turn. All around, pretty solid. Increases the soul and quote unquote, sometimes this deck will have a soul problem. The only way it does is if your opponent like early rushes you and then you open with 2 depth Elwhips and you're willing to drop all your CB in one go, but then past that turn you're not going to have a soul problem for the rest of the game. So you know, Alana's pretty much there for that, but also in the sense of, you know, worst case scenario, if you have no other call targets for your call skills, you can just call her. But I mean, hey, free soul charge is nice, and also she's a crit, so it adds pressure with the Vanguard. And if you have a Vanguard that can possibly get quad drive, but most of the time it's going to have triple drive, yeah, you want extra crits for pressure, especially when your other 2 rear guards in the front row are going to have crits. Triple things with crits, yeah, crits are the way to go, baby. Then we have 4 copies of LG Pixie, or as I like to call it, thing I forgot to change the name of when I made Flowery Tone Tabletop. Gredzilla Boost 15k shield, 5k power, standard heal, and spell. It's just a 15k free heal. I like to use it. I don't really like the effectos too much. I feel like the true situation of with the 10k shield fluctuating to 25k shields, so I run LG Pixie. Also because, again, it fits the theme, and I used to think this was a dragon because I thought this was a head, and then I realized this was actually a Pixie. But, yeah, no, it's a nice heal. I know the video hasn't gone up yet. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that there's a video where I play against Zorga, and whew, I got this sacked on me so much. That and double Lena, so there's that. But 4 of LG Pixie, very nice heal to have. Even when I hate it, it goes against me, but that just proves how reliable it is. It doesn't want the deck to lose, whether it means I'm playing it or someone else. And then we have our grade 1s. First, we're on 3 copies of Spoof Shade. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. I don't understand how this card was in English already. I remember this morning, because right now it's Wednesday, September 20th, 7:35 p.m., so a little bit after the Omna Grizio video. And I was checking this morning for Omna Grizio English arts, and I saw nothing for the whole entire line. And then I see on, like, the sidebar, like, recommended list, like, the stuff that was recently edited, like Spoof Shade and Philander and stuff like that. And it turns out they were in English. But for some reason, none of the Omna Grizio cards were. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. This badass card that I first saw was a grade 2. Has 2 abilities. Continuous hand card. When an order card be discarded from your hand by the card's ability, it may be discarded as an order card as well. So cool. Ye Wandering Souls target. One of my big hates with Ye Wandering Souls is that I never had an order in hand, or I would rarely have an order in hand when I would play it. Now I have more options to do that. But also, something I just realized as I'm talking about this, its effect procs off from Rancor Chain. So instead of ditching 2 cards or an actual order, you can just ditch this for Rancor Chain, which is nice to think about. And then continues back with Rearguard Circle if you did Alchemagic this turn, it gets plus 10k power for the turn. So downside is it has to be in back row. Upside is you're probably going to have 2 Roman Prisons in the front row anyways, meaning this thing's an 18k booster. All around, pretty solid. Access target for Gathering upon Ye Wandering Souls. Access target for Rancor Chain. It literally is an 18k base the second you play the deck's main gimmick. What's not liked about it, it's an easy 3 of, and I love this card's art and skill so much. Then we have 4 copies of the other English card that for some reason exists, but not a single copy of Omna Grizio is in English. I will keep fucking harping on this because I also checked set 11, and like, the only card I found like 2 cards that were in English, and one of them was Ezra, which I'm not complaining about, but like still, the fact that only 2 cards are English and that set has actually come out, and yet these cards that came out not even 2 weeks ago have English arts doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, Conceited Noble Philander, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, the thing that replaced Hendrina. Auto, when placed on Rearguard Circle from the hand, check the top 5 cards of your deck, choose to 1 card from among them, discard and shuffle the deck. All around, pretty solid. It's not a mandatory mill if you don't want to, which is sometimes what I hate about Hendrina, because a lot of times I relied on her to hit orders into my drop zone and roaming prisons, and the thing was, a good amount of times she would either like whiff or like she would just make me mill 2 triggers even if she got me what I wanted in drop, and it would deck me out. But at the same time, if I was playing Nectar of Sensationalism, it did a really good job because again, bigger drop zone cards, except I stopped running that card so she became less useful. So Philander basically being a selective mill is pretty great because I rarely miss my targets with him now, and I'm not milling 3 triggers into drop in one go, thanks for that one, Hendrina. And then continues Rearguard during turn. If your drops on 10 more cards, it gives 10k power. So I've definitely noticed without Hendrina, this deck has a lot harder of a time hitting the 10 drop zone mark. And by harder, I mean it doesn't hit it on first grade 3 turn unless I'm like turboing out the entire deck. And I'm attempting to spam a bunch of Philanders back to back because it can't be placed from anywhere. That skill has to be specifically placed from hand. But either way, being able to be an 18k base when you hit the 10 or more cards is great because he doesn't require Alchemagic. So worst case scenario, if you're one of those situations where you can't Alchemagic and you have Spoof Shade, or you know you just can't get a bunch of orders out, as long as you have the 10 drop zone cards, Philander's an 18k base. So that's nice to have. 4 Philander and 3 of Spoof Shade because, you know, if you have both of them in the back row, you have 2 18k boosters. That I have no reason not to run either of them at a collective total of 7 at least. Then we have 4 PGs in Planet Prevent Dragon. I still wonder if this... No, I saw my friend play a PG, that's why, because I was like, did my friend play PG that entire game? And I was like, no, yeah, he did, because it was the reason he lived. Anyways, grade 1 boost, 0 6k base, continue Sentinel, you have to perform Sentinels in deck, and also put on Guard Circle, choose one of your units, it cannot be hit till the battle, and if your hand is 2 or more cards, choose a card from his card at standard PG. Nothing special about it basically means if this and only one other cards you place on Guard Circle, you don't have to discard one, which is great, because that means you get as aggressive as you in the early... You can be as aggressive as you want in the early game, and when you're playing Rancor Chain into orders, into Conceited Noble Philander over here, you're probably early game rushing your opponent, and then when they counterattack, because you want them to throw down guard power so you can Alchemagic as soon as possible and beat them to shit with double dual dragons that have double crit, and hopefully Vanguard that has quad drive while you're probably going to see a critter over that turn. So when your opponent counterattacks you can just throw down that PG without having to discard a card, survive the attack, and you're good. You can run a Custodial Dragon too because they have the exact same skill, but I prefer Planet Prevent Dragon because while yes, Custodial was closer to the release of Zorga Masques, Custodial Dragon, Planet Prevent was closer to the release of OG Zorga, who is the card we're using in a ride deck. So full Planet Prevent Dragon. Very solid grade 1. And then we have our last grade 1. It's the one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck, sadly, but because this deck can call from drop, and it's very easy to soul boss it out, you just soul boss it out and call it from drop to rear guard, and that is Rancor Chain. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, active Vanguard once per turn. By soul bossing 1, draw 2 cards, shift 1 order card from your hand, discard it, and if you do not discard, choose 2 cards from your hand, discard them instead. So there are times where you won't discard an order, and those are like rare occasions. For example, you have double roaming prisons in hand, and then you have a bunch of other cards that you would ditch for ride deck within a logical balance because they're also orders. That's where you ditch the double dragons, because next turn when you actually play an order, you get both of them back. So yeah, but most of the time you're just going to ditch an order, or thanks to me now realizing he can be caught in for that cost, Spoof Shade. And then his other ability is continuous rear guard. If you play an order this turn, he gets plus 2k power. So cool. He's a 10k base, which isn't amazing, but I mean, a 10k boost is a 10k boost, especially with weak-ass roaming prison dragons that granted get stronger, but still. And then again, being able to draw 2 cards and eat out an order is pretty nice as well. So one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck. You don't need the main deck because you can call him if you want to. But yeah, most of the time you're going to call either Philander or Spoof Shade because 18k boosters. Then move on to our grade 2s. We own 3 copies of Dragon Tree Wretch, Death to Elowith. Grade 2s have 5k shield, 10k base, auto and placed on rearguard circle by counterblasting 1 and soul blasting 1. Choose one of your rearguard circles of any Draco Tree markers on them and put a Draco Tree marker on it, then search after 1 Mask of Hydro Gum, reveal, put it to hand, shuffle your deck. Okay. All around, it's a pretty solid grade 2. It gets you a free order on the board, or not a free order, a free marker on the board, which definitely helps out with the roamings or just things in general when you hit the Zorga Masques, because unlike the other, like, in my opinion, the other Masques units, the other ones are kind of like 50-50 of which one you actually want to be on. Some, depending on the situation, some of them, most of the time, you do want to be on the Masques, but you can still go to the other ones within a logical reason. And this one, it's just better to always stay on the Masques because Masques straight up gives you a Persona ride if you Alchemy Magic at all, so that's great. But, also, you can use the same order twice, so there's that. But anyways, being able to switch a Magic Hydro Gum is great, and also gives you Draco Tree marker, so you get the extra 5k continuously. You can run Shadow Cloak over this. It is an option. The reason why I choose Depth Elwith over Shadow Cloak specifically is to get an order in hand for cost of Gather Upon Me Wandering Souls, and also to try to like hit Masques into hand, because most of the time I do pull Masques in my opening hand, but in case I don't, I tend to try to use that here and then just Alchemy Magic regularly with Zorga, and then I Superior Ride if I do hit it, because I at least going to get the Persona Ride bonus and the Zorga Masques skill off it because I Alchemy Magic. But yeah, if you want to run Shadow Cloak because you consistently hit the thing and drop it and you don't want to waste one of your order plays on Mask of Hydro Gum, go ahead, but I like not taking that chance. Also free marker on the rear guard. But 3 Depth Elwith, very solid grade 2, and because of me place them anywhere, you can just call one, call something on top of it, then use Zorga's skill to call back. Then we have our last grade 2, one of in the red deck, none in the main deck of Black Tears Husk Dragon. Grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base, auto placed on Vanguard Circle, choose 1 normal order from your drop zone, put it to your hand. So yeah, that's fairly simple to do. Free order to hand, nothing bad. You can just use it for like your orders for ride deck or for Ranker Chain and bounce it back to hand. Sadly, you can't combo with Spoof Shade, but it is what it is. And then his other ability is Continuous Rear Guard. If you play an order this turn, it gets 5k power. Cool. So 15k, it's not amazing, especially when you can have double roamings in the front row. But hey, when you have to call something, you just call this. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's not the worst thing in the world either. So one of in the right deck, none in the main deck. If you have to call it to rear guard, you do. But most of the time, it's just used to recycle your orders that you use for right deck cost. So take that as you will. Then we have our grade 3, so we're on 4 copies of the son of a bitch that I keep mentioning, Roaming Prison Dragon. Anyone that has ever played Zorga, either as or against, since set 4 knows what this son of a bitch is. Grade 3, turn dragon, Persona Ride, 5k base, not 13k. Auto drop zone. When you would play a normal order, you may call this card to rear guard circle, and then if you called this card, perform one of the following. If it was during Alchemy Magic, you can perform all instead of 1. So either it gets plus 10k for the turn, or it gets 1 crit for the turn, or again, if you play during Alchemy Magic, it gets both. Now, just imagine this for a second. On grade 2 turn, you can play an order, call 2 of these, and make them either 15k bases, or do what I do and put both of them on double crit, and then swing with the rear guards first to force them to drop 5ks. Or if I'm confident I'm going to pull triggers, I'm going to swing with the Vanguard first and see double crits. But, you could do that. Or you could wait till Alchemy Magic. And then what you do then is you get to Zorga Masques, you play Mask of Hydro Gum, you get the Persona Ride, you Alchemy Magic, so you get Zorga's skill, you play Clouded Misma, maybe you do it twice, just because fuck it. So you use that's a total of plus 30 to the front row, and then you probably have at least 1 Draco Chi marker on one of them. So let's just say that, actually, no, let's benefit it out, let's say that they don't, and you have 2 roaming prisons in the front row that you just called. They both are at a total of 35 plus their own 10k. 45, double critical each, no triggers, no boosters, no Draco Chi markers, just straight up orders and Zorgas. 4 roaming prison. This is the sole reason why this deck, at least in my opinion, that this deck is dangerous, because the fact that it can hit double crits. I've seen Zorga play without Roaming Prisons. It's still deadly, it's just not dearly as deadly. Roaming Prisons is like at least a fourth, if not more than a fourth, of the deck's overall attack power in just one go. So for Roaming, it's a deadly son of a bitch. Don't mess with them. And then we have our one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck of Mysterious Brain Spiritualist Zorga. Some people are going to call me crazy for this. That means Zorga Mask has a one-time use, but in my opinion, that's fine. Grade 3, General Persona 13k base, continues Vanguard Circle. When you would play a normal order, you combine a normal order with a different card name from your drop zone, Alchemagic it, so combine the cost and then add the effect to the back. So for those of you wondering how Alchemagic works, I recently saw a video where someone commented on a video asking how Alchemagic worked. Basically how it works is, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. You play the you have the order play from hand, and then you bind the one from drop zone. You pay the cost of both of them first, then you, in order, play the one from hand, and then you play the one from drop zone. So say, for example, you Alchemagic Mask of Hydreigon with Cloud and Misma, Cloud and Misma being the one from drop, Mask of Hydreigon being the one from hand. You pay the cost of Cloud and Misma and Mask of Hydreigon, which in this case would just be Counterblast 1, and then you activate Mask of Hydreigon's top 5 skill search first, then you play Cloud and Misma's call skill, and then afterwards you resolve any other effects. So so that's just his ability, Alchemagic. It's not as amazing as Zorga Masques, but still. And his other ability, which you typically use just to abuse the fuck out of Depth Elith over here, is Active Vanguard. Once per turn, Counterblast 1, choose a card from your drop zone, call it your rear guard. This is the thing that puts you into a CV problem because you're going to use it to call Depth Elith on top of a Depth Elith on top of another Depth Elith. So, yeah, I mean, that's what's going to put you into a CB problem. But on the bright side, outside of Cloud and Misma, nothing else in the deck costs CB, so by all means, go crazy with it. One of Mysterious Brain Spiritual Zorga in the rad deck, not in the main deck. It's not really needed in the main deck, and it's really only needed for like the one of Masques use in case you really do need it. So take that as you will. It's a nice one of in the red deck and none in the main deck. Then we have Teasing Spiritualist, Zorga Masques, the first ever mask card. And of course he has a red moon in the background, or technically it's pink, but beautiful moon nonetheless. Grade 3, General Persona 13k base. Continuous, he can only be ridden from a grade 3 Zorga in his card name, so you can ride him on top of himself. You can ride him on top of this boy. You can also ride on top of red, but I don't run red because I feel like red kind of causes a Soul Blast problem, and when you're spamming Soul for this guy, yeah, you definitely don't want to use red on that. And then his other abilities. Continues Vanguard. When you play a normal order, you can bind a normal order from your drop zone and Alchemagic it. Here was my problems with Alchemagic up to this point. There were 3 cards I could Alchemagic. 2 of them were Zorgas, before this card was revealed. 2 of them were Zorgas, and both of them required them to be different orders. And the last one was that one really niche card that I wish Bushy kept printing more stuff like that because they were budget grade 3s, called Iron Ranker, or Iron Anchor, whatever his name was, the thing that allowed you to Alchemagic, but they specifically had to be the same name. This mofo is better than all 3 of them combined for the simple fact he does not require you to use them of a specific thing. It doesn't matter if they're the same name, it doesn't matter if they're different name. You can play Alchemagic regardless as long as you have an order and drop and an order in hand that you can pay the cost of. Which is great. And then his other effect, which they could have just stopped here and it would have been fucking hunky-dory. Continues Vanguard. If you Alchemagic this turn, doesn't matter if he was on the board for it. So you can mask, like I said, you can Alchemagic while you're on this boy, use Mask of Hydreigon to hit off a Masques, and then use its skill to Persona Ride this thing, because it's a continuous ability, meaning as long as it happened during the turn, if you Alchemagic during this turn, the entire front row gets plus 10. Combine that with Persona Ride for Mask of Hydreigon, that's 33 on just this guy alone. Possibly you Wandering Souls, 33 with triple drive, and you have 8 crits, technically 9 if we count Bus Favor. And you probably have 2 Roman Prison Dragon in the front row, so those things are at least somewhere in like the high 30s and probably have good boosters behind them and have double crits each. Cool. And then his other ability, which is a hard once per game in this deck because you can only use it once. Active Vanguard, once per turn, move a card with Zorga and its different card name from this unit from your hand, drop zone or soul. In this case, hopefully from the drop zone by Soul Blasting this out via Depth Elith, but if you have to pull it from soul, so be it. Choose a card from your drop zone and either call it to rear guard if it's a unit card or put it to the hand if it's normal order. Cool. So you either get a free rear guard for board spamming or you bounce a normal order back to your hand either for next turn for Alchemagic or you bounce it for this turn for Alchemagic. Either way, it's a very solid grade 3. Granted, that's a hard once per game ability in this scenario because granted, it's not a hard once per game, it's just a hard once per turn, but it's a hard once per game in this deck because, again, there's only one other different name, Zorga. But being able to basically call a unit or recycle Alchemagic is pretty nice. And again, literal just a Persona Ride to the front row just by Alchemagicking, and you can Alchemagic with anything. Yeah. 4 of Zorga Masques. Very solid grade 3. Puts numbers on this deck. Is another reason why this deck just gets fucking deadlier by the second. 4 of Zorga. I like how every time Zorga gets support, it always goes focus on numbers, focus on consistency, focus on numbers again by revealing Roaming Prison, then focus on numbers again and consistency by revealing Red Zorga, then focus on consistency by revealing whatever they revealed after that, and then focus on power by revealing the son of a bitch. And then the next reveals, such as, Philander over here and Spoof Shade, focus on consistency, but also focus on power. It's just a trend they do. Either way, though, 4 copies of Zorga Masques. Very solid grade 3, not much more to say about it. And finally, we get to our orders. First, we run 2 copies of Tearful Malice. Grade 2 normal order, play it by retiring 2 rear guards to draw a card, put this card to soul, and countercharge 1. So, I used to get this confused a lot, but basically how this works is this doesn't work like, even if this is the card that's Alchemagic, it's the card that's bound, it doesn't send itself to soul like I used to think. No, you have to send the card that you played from hand. So if you did play Tearful Malice from hand, okay, cool, you can play, you send that one to soul. But if this was the card you bound, whatever card you play from hand, that's the one that goes to soul. But being able to kill 2 rear guards is nice because it allows you to draw, soul charge, and get a counter charge. And for those of you wondering, I know I'm just opening up a can of worms by saying this, but yes, the Tearful Malice Roaming Prison Dragon combo does work because at the time they're being retired, they are still in the drop zone for you to use the Alchemagic. I have seen this ruling so many times. The majority of people I see agree with this. If you disagree with it, then so be it. But as I have seen it, both in my opinion, but not just my opinion, but also literally viewing the results of every other person playing this, that's how the combo works. So take that as you will, free counter charge, free soul charge, free draw, and it can proc off double roamings by killing them. Then past that, we have our next grade 2 order, and that is Gather Upon Me, Ye Wandering Souls. God, I love saying that. It's a nice golden order. It has Zorga in his divine says he sends Ghost out towards you. Grade 2 normal order, play it by discarding an order card from your hand. Oh, look at that. Spoof Shade targets. Anyways, discard a normal order from your hand, or not a normal order, any order. So it could be a Blitz order, set order, but most of the time it's going to be a normal order. Choose one of your Vanguards and it gets a drive for the turn. Cool. Vanguard gets triple drive. Or you play this while you're on grade 2, have double of these things in the drop zone, and you get double triggers. So all around, pretty solid. It gets you triple drive, and if you combo it with Masques, which I've never been able to do, though my friend just pulled this off against me, you get quad drive. You have 2 of these accessible. So yeah, 2 of Gather Upon Me, Ye Wandering Souls for drive checks. Very simple skill, but very good skill. Or, and I mean, technically speaking, all of these orders are ors. You can swap any of them out, but this, in my opinion, is what I would swap it out for. Or, you can have 2 copies of Command of Death Restraint. Instead, another card that came out in set 13 that also has an English art already, instead of any other Omna Glazio card. I don't know why I'm pissed off about that. Anyways, grade 2 normal order. By ditching the top card of your deck, choose 1 card with a grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from your drop zone, call it to your guard if it's a unit, and put it to your hand if it's a normal order not named this card. So, all around, pretty solid because it's basically Zorga Masques skill, which I like, except it just doesn't give power, but it's nice. Like, it's a mill and call, so, it gives you targets if you don't have anything in drop zone you want to call, or just bounce another order to hand for next turn. So all around, granted it has to be normal order, but still. So, you could use either or. I personally like to keep Gather Upon Me, Wandering Souls for the aggressiveness, but if you wanted more control, or say, you never have orders in hand, because I know some people that have commented are like, oh, I never have orders in hand for Gather Upon Me, Wandering Souls, this is your option, because it can just call stuff and get more rear guard. So 2 of Command, Depth of Strength, or 2 Gather Upon Me, You Want Your Souls. Again, any of these orders are interchangeable with each other, but I prefer either of these 2 get to stay and the other one gets to go. But I mean, take that as you will, either drive checks or rear guards. Then we have 2 copies of Clouded Miasma, or as I like to call it, Clouded Misma. Grade 3 normal order, play it by counterblasting 1. Literally the only order in this deck that I'm now realizing that has an actual cost outside of this. Anyways, choose a grade 3 card from your drop zone, call it to rear guard, and if it's part of Alchemagic, choose our Vanguards, and it gets Confused Vanguard. All your following get plus 5k till end of turn. Okay. Even if you have to use this and Alchemagic with this to try to hit a this while you're on a this thing, do it. Because I promise you, if you hit this and you get this card and you Persona Ride, even if you lose the 5k, because this effect gives it to the Vanguard, if you lose the 5k, you're still getting at least 10 off of this, and you're probably getting 10 off of Persona Ride. So it's better just to go that way. And, if you are on Zorga Masques, then, yeah, do it. I want to suggest doing double at a time, because, I don't know, I just don't like using up 2 of them at a time. But, I mean, you can do what you want. But, I mean, cool. All around, it's nice that I can always get a grade 3 less rear guard, and then if you Alchemagic with it, you get the 5k buff. So, yeah. 2 of Clouded Misma. Very solid double normal order. I think like I said, the only time I've seen double order is when my friend used Gather Upon Me, Wandering Souls, and when this deck first came out, and I used double Clouded Misma on him, so there was that. Either way, those are very nice order. Like I said, gets rear guards, gets numbers 2 of. Then we have 2 copies of our last card in the deck, to Mask of Hydreigon. Grade 3, normal order, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 Draco Tree or Masques card named card from among them, reveal, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. Cool, so you either get Zorga Masques over here, or you get to Death Elwolf, which is nice, and then act drop zone. If you have a grade 3 Vanguard without Masques in its card name, reveal a grade 3 card of Masques card from your hand, and write the reveal card as cost of stand. If you rode, put this card into your soul, and if your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 again, you do not Persona Ride this turn, activate Persona Ride. So all around, pretty solid. Free 10k, another free 10k if you Alchemy Magic, it searches this bastard, it searches this bastard. All around is a very solid order. It's nice to have, it's an easy 2 of, and you know, if you're like me and you pull this in your opening hand, you can just use Philander to mill it into drop zone, so you don't have to worry about it later. 2 of Mask of Hydreigon, good order. And then we have our 5 Draco Tree markers. You know, during your turn, if you have Vanguard, Draco Tree, or Masques card name, all your units on the circle get plus 5k power. You don't put it in the main deck, you just put it like next to your ride deck or somewhere. Cool. You spawn these by calling 1 Depth Elwolf, then you kill that Depth Elwolf by calling another one from hand. Then you play Zorga's skill to kill that one and call another one. Then you use Mask of Hydreigon skill to go into this son of a bitch, and then you use this thing, or in combination with this thing, to call one of them back, and then, or you use Cheerful Malice to kill one of them, and then you call one of them back with Cloud and Misma, and then you use its skill to make another marker. That's how you make markers, baby. And then, you know, you use this one's skill to remove the copy of Zorga from Soul and get the last Draco Tree marker. Very nice, so you can just do that all and basically make no cost from that. And either way, that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is very fun to play. It hits big numbers. It hits big criticals. It is very annoying to fight against. It is very fun to play as. It's just all around great, and I just love using it. So yeah, without further ado here, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.